Hi guys, so I had a couple of requests from people to just quickly go over how to make a FK control from scratch. So I've got Big Buck Bunny here, which you guys are all working on at the moment, and what I'll do is I'm just going to go through the steps required to create a simple FK controller. So we'll start with a curve, and we just create a curve here, and that gives us a curve that we can use as a control. And this is probably a little bit large, so we'll just scale them down a little bit. Now I know that because these curves are going to be used in the shoulder, I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees. So 90 degrees in the z-axis, just so that they line up automatically. I don't have to go through and do that with each individual one. I'm going to scale them down a little bit more until I've got them at the right size, and then I'm going to go to Edit, Delete by Type, and delete his history. So he has some history here of how he was made, the Make NURB circle. So I'm just going to delete that, and that'll disappear, which looks good. And I'm going to call this clavicle control. Clavicle control. Cool. And then I'm going to freeze his transformations. Right, so that's all I need to do with this guy at the moment. He's pretty much set up. He's got everything set to 0. Now in order to get him into position, I need to use a locator. So what I'll do is I'll create a locator. So I go to Create, and I'll create a locator. And that's a little bit bigger than what we need, so I'll set his scale. I'm going to use his local scale to reduce that down rather than using his actual scale attribute here, because that won't change the scale attribute, it'll just change his local scale. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to set that down to about, say, 0.1. I want that to be quite small. Right, so that's just sitting there in the middle. Fantastic. And I'm going to call this clavicle control locate. So this is going to be the offset for the clavicle control. So I'll take that guy, select him, shift select the clavicle locator and hit P on the keyboard, and that means now that this is now parented under it. Now I don't want to grab this curve or use this curve again until I'm pretty much ready to start setting up my controls. So what I'm going to actually do here, just as an extra step, is I'm just going to go through and on clavicle control, not clavicle locator, but clavicle control, I'm going to go through and just lock all these attributes. So right click and choose lock selected, so they'll go grey. So that just means I can't accidentally grab that and move that, because I want that pivot to stay right in the center of that locator. So I've got to grab that locator to move it. Now I'm going to go through another video with you guys about how to create that little A to B script. And so once we've got that set up, we can use that very quickly. But before we do that, I'm just going to go and duplicate all the controls out that I want. So I'll pause this for a minute and I'll just duplicate these out, and then I'll restart the video again. Okay guys, so what I've just done in the break there was just went through and duplicated that clavicle control and renamed it for shoulder, elbow and wrist control. So they're all exactly the same, sitting in the same place, and they've all got their all the controls are locked, and the locators I can still freely move around. Okay, and so now I'll just hide Big Buck Bunny here to get to a skeleton chain, and I've got the clavicle control there. So it's pretty nice and easy. I just pick the clavicle control, and then I hold down the control key, or I think it's the Apple key for those of you using a Mac. Push the clavicle, and then I go over and I find that script that I made earlier, the A to B script. I push that button, and it just snaps into place. Then I'm going to go find the shoulder joint, hold down the control key, or I can and grab the, I think it's actually, yep, it's the Apple key. Click the shoulder, push A to B, and that snaps into place. Grab the elbow control, this one here. Grab the elbow control locator. You can start to see why it's really important that we name things, so it's nice and easy to line things up. Push my A to B button, that snaps into place, and you can see now that's really nice. It's orientated straight down the chain the way that I want it to. And then I'm going to click this guy, grab the wrist, click the wrist controller, and then I'm going to use the A to B button and snap that into place. And so that snaps everything nicely into place. And what I can do now is go through, and now that I've got them in the right spot, I can unlock these guys. So I just selected all of them, each of the control curves, right click, unlock selected. I'll bring back Big Buck Bunny. Where is he? There he is. Okay, cool. And I can see that some of these probably aren't quite in the right place. What I will do with the shoulder controls, you can see it's buried a bit inside his body. So what I can do is you can right click on these controls here and choose control vertex. And this is basically like the same way we go in and edit a polygon. We can actually go in and edit control curves. So if I go in to component mode, which is this little button up here, I can actually go in and just actually scale that down and make it a bit smaller. I could of course use the scale node, but this just gives me a little bit more control. I'm going to go and grab this guy, scale him down a little bit, maybe, and then grab this one here. He looks like he's alright. Maybe just grab these bottom couple of controls, just move them out slightly, just slightly changing the shape. Doesn't matter too much what the shape is on this guy, because as long as I select him, that pivot point is right there at the center. That's what I mainly want. And this control curve here, so I just push this button again, this one here, go into component mode, and I can edit the individual components. Grab those ones, just not grab that one, and then just pull that over and just make it a bit easier to see that shoulder control, because he's a bit fat as Big Bug Bunny, and he's a little bit hard to sometimes see all his bits. There we go, so just pull that out, maybe scale that out a little bit. I'm just grabbing those controls so I can kind of just see that curve a little bit easier. Grab that one from the back. There we go. There's one more that I'm missing. This guy here. Here we go. So I'm just reshaping that curve so it just it's a little bit easier to manipulate, and that's by going in and clicking this button here, which is the edit the component editor. I think it's F9 if you're on a PC on the keyboard. So that looks good, as long as that pivot still stays in the same place. So I want to make sure that pivot stays in exactly the same place. I don't want to touch any of these controls here. And then once I've pretty much got that set up, I can then start going through and attaching my joints. So we're going to use an orient constraint. So the first thing we need to do is we need to select the joint that we want to be the driver, and then the joint that's going to be driven. So I'll open up constraint now, pop that open, get open orient constraint, the options there, I'll just drag this across so we can see it. Yep, we want to leave maintain offset on. Shouldn't make a difference though, because both controls are set to 0. So I select the wrist control here, then I shift select and click, other way around. Grab the wrist controller first, and then grab the wrist joint, and then just click apply. And that should give me a control. Yep, that looks great. Now I've got control over that wrist. Watch out that you don't accidentally grab the locator. Okay, you want to grab the control, because the locator's done its job. It's just there to give you the orientation. So I'm going to select the control curve, and then I'm going to make sure I select the joint, not the locator. Be careful not to grab the locator, and I can check that just here in the outliner, make sure I'm in the right, got the right guy. Yep, got one of the part of the joint chain, and then I'm going to hit apply. Grab the control that I want to be the driver, grab the thing I want to be driven, which is this case the joint. And you can also grab, when you're grabbing joints, you can grab anywhere along here, so you can grab any of that triangle as well, which might make it a little bit easier to select. And then hit apply, and I'll come down here and I'll grab the guy that I want to be the driver, and then the driven object, and then hit apply. And that should give me, yep, that looks great. Now the only thing that remains to happen is I've got to connect up these joints together. So there's a couple ways I can do this. I could just simply drag and drop each of these guys under the previous joint, or I could use a constraint system. So either way, it's up to you how you want to do that. I'll just go through both of them. So one would just simply be the quick and dirty way. Would be I just take that, drop that under there, take that, drop that under there, take that, middle mouse button click, and drag and drop that under there. And that basically means that now these controls are parented together. And if I move this guy, he's going to move. Yep. So it moves down the chain. That's one way we can do it. There's a little bit of a cleaner way that we could do it as well. If you feel like basically making your scene nice and clean, and that is we can just parent constrain this guy to this guy. So in other words, we're going to get the wrist to follow the elbow. So I can click the elbow, grab the wrist control, use a parent constraint, and I need to make sure maintain offset is on. So tick maintain offset. Hit apply, close that, grab this guy and then this guy, hit G, this guy and this guy, and hit G. And then what that'll do is it'll do the same thing, but it leaves it nice and clean out here in the outliner. And the other nice thing about this is if I select each of these objects, they don't all go green. So I'll cover that a little bit more in class. And then you can hook up the clavicle to the next control you've got down here in the body, and make those body controls for the wrist, for the waist, and for the stomach as well. So I hope that clears that up a little bit for you guys. If you are having any problems, feel free to shoot me an email and let me know. And I'll see you guys all very soon. Okay, bye.